3, 2, 1. Welcome to H3 Live. Really live. We're live in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, with our friends at Paycom. I'm Steve Bose. I'm with Trish D. Trish, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am well. Thank you. We've had a great day here with our friends at Paycom. Did a presentation this morning on the future of work. Did some webinar content, podcast.
It's been a busy day.
Now video.
I love this studio. Can we just shout out to the Paycom studio? This is amazing. I feel like I need this at home.
They are great hosts, and it's great to come out here. It's been a little while, so I'm glad we're out here.
Right.
And but Trish, on H3 Live, I brought some real stuff. We're here in the office, doing real things. So I have real topics I brought.
That's good. And you know what? I mean, proof to the viewers. I never know what's going to come out of your mouth. So.
Yeah. So here we go.
Okay.
Topic number 1. Indeed, our friends at Indeed, Trish, have released the 2024 Workforce Insights Report. I want to pull out a couple stats for you and get your thoughts on them. 20% of U.S. workers, Trish, according to Indeed, say inflexibility in their organization's a deal breaker. They're out. They're done. They're out.
Right.
Maybe they won't join in the first place. 75%, and this one maybe we can talk about some more too. 75% of job seekers want pay transparency in the recruiting process, but only about 50% of jobs actually give a little lip service to pay transparency.
Right.
And finally, Trish, 50% of job seekers say applying for a job is too complicated. So what do you think?
You know what? I agree with all three of those things. So, especially pay transparency. I mean, I've worked in HR for over 2 decades before I became an analyst, and one of the most biggest questions I ever received was around, why am I being paid what I'm being paid? How does that equate to my colleagues? What does it take to get paid more? And so that was always something, I don't want to say we had to tiptoe around, but it was handled more on a one-to-one basis, I think. So employees have been asking for this since we started work. And I'm embarrassed to say it's taking us till this year, or last year really, for this to become such a huge point that people are willing not to take jobs.
Yeah. And it's been in the news more, right? Because some localities have made legislation, right?
Right.
That you have to provide salary ranges on job postings.
Right.
But some companies are kind of only half complying. And I saw a thing in the news last week, I think it was a Netflix job. I'll call them out.
Okay.
And it was something like, director of software engineering, some sort of technical job at Netflix. And they put a salary range on there of $100K to $900K, right? That's what they posted to remain compliant with whatever.
Right.
It was California, I think. And
yeah,
what does that mean, right? It doesn't mean anything if you're going to post that.
I agree. And like many things, I don't think that if companies are posting that or are required to post depending on where they're located, I don't think that's an anomaly, I do believe, right? I think most companies are then going to actually share our range is this to this. It's going to be a fairly tight range. And of course, there are differentials for lots of other reasons, right? It could be location. It could be, cost of living. I have to tell you, as an HR leader, that was what people, I'm going to move from this city to this city and the cost of living is higher. I'd be like, I'm sorry, that's really not important to us. It's the cost of labor, right? So I think, too, by having pay transparency, you actually open up to people. You don't have to move to make more money.
Right.
But having better skills will get you more money, right? Working maybe and having more experience will get you more money. So to me, it opens up a bigger conversation than just what am I being paid as a new hire.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit of just organizations being reluctant to change their standard operating procedures that they've had for so long, right?
They don't know how, because
change is scary and it's hard and it's easier to just do things the way we've always done them.
Well, and we've been telling our leaders forever not to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up, but my dad always told me, you never talk about pay. You never talk about politics, religion, or your pay. Well, that doesn't fit anymore, right? And honestly, if you were raised under that sort of a guideline, you don't even know how to begin to have those conversations. HR learns how to have those conversations. So what we need to continue to do is empower our managers and leaders with how much can they say and be compliant, but also being helpful to the employees. And then anything beyond that that's sort of out of scope, go to HR.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And maybe we can dig into pay transparency some more this year and maybe get our friends from Salary or something back on the show. Trish, while we're talking about hard conversations, this one's not really fun either. Maybe the last topic will be slightly more fun. But
okay, good.
Trish, I was reading this a couple days ago. The Deloitte's Women at Work 2024, a global outlook report. 5,000 women surveyed in 10 countries. Trish, the top 3 concerns of working women in this survey: financial security, 51%, number 1. Women's rights, 50%, that was number 2. And mental health, Trish, which is climbing, 48% of women concerned about mental health. And challenges around mental health, and particularly, and this is maybe the difficult thing, and I'm kind of upset to read this, knowing that members of my community are contributing to this, Trish. Nearly half of women, according to the survey, nearly half of women said they were worried about their personal safety while at work or while commuting to work or traveling for work.
Yes.
Nearly half.
I'm shocked it's not 99%, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe it is more in the real world.
I'll tie it to something actually that was a little more fun. So on social media, on TikTok, and I think probably other places now.
I've heard of it.
The whole, would you rather be in a forest with a bear or a man?
Yes, I've heard this.
Right? And
trapped in the forest kind of thing, right?
Trapped in a forest alone, and you're either going to encounter possibly a bear or a man.
Yeah.
A majority of women say they would rather be with the bear, with the bear. And I won't get into all the reasons why, but I will say, as a person who's traveled all over the world by myself quite often, I almost feel like we're prey. Women are prey. We are not as strong typically, right? I mean, there are outliers, but we're just more vulnerable. And I don't know, I've even talked with my boyfriend about this, who has daughters, and I have a daughter. Young women, this starts when they're in school. Unwanted touching, unwanted comments. And so you learn very early on that you are vulnerable. So I'm actually surprised that's not a higher number.
Yeah,
are you surprised?
I'm not really, Trish. And look, I have a whole thing on this I could talk about, but I'm very cognizant when I'm traveling, especially, and I happen to be in an elevator or in a hotel hallway and things like that. I won't look at a woman. I avert my eyes. I don't follow too closely. I don't talk to anybody because I know how uncomfortable and scary it can be for women traveling alone or even traveling with other women. So yeah, I do my best to, I probably come off as incredibly unfriendly and antisocial, but I'd rather be that than be threatening, at all, or even perceived as threatening. So.
But I will say this to any of the men listening, my opinion is you don't need to necessarily go that far. Just a friendly smile.
Well, I also use it as an excuse to not have to talk to anybody.
That could be as well. No, I think, and I'll tell you what, I mean, there were years ago where I was traveling and was by myself and very afraid, and I know I called you. And the first thing you said as my coworkers, do I need to get on a plane, right? And come help you so you're not feeling like you're
thankfully you said no.
I said no. But no, I'll be honest, I was traveling in the Middle East. And so I was certainly more aware of my surroundings being a female traveler.
Yeah. And so part of that survey as well, I'll throw this out there, 25% of women, you mentioned in the priority comments, 25% of women, according to the Deloitte survey, 25% say men, I think it's men really, it says persons, let's call it men, in senior roles have made inappropriate comments or actions. And again, I bet that number should be higher too than 25%.
Yeah. I think that, I hate to say this, I think we're used to it.
Do better, man. That's really...
Do better.
Just do better, for God's sakes.
And I thought it would be different for my daughter and this Gen Z coming in, and already we're hearing it's not. So do better. Just be mindful. If it was your daughter or your mother or your sister, how would you want to treat them, right? Yeah. So
last topic, a little bit more fun, Trish.
Yeah, lighten it up.
According to reporting, I read in Axios, Trish, as many as 6.7% of workers have taken a sabbatical this year.
Ooh.
They define as 3 weeks or more consecutively taking off. And Gen Z, Trish, gone from 1.7% to 8%. 8% of Gen Z workers already burned out enough to go on sabbatical. Trish, are you ready for your next sabbatical?
I would love a sabbatical. So it's funny. I'm glad you mentioned this because we've been doing the podcast for 15 years now. Yeah. I know it's been more than 5 that we actually did a show, I don't know if you remember this, on sabbaticals.
I do recall it.
Okay. And I used to take, pre-COVID, I would take a sabbatical every January. I'd go by myself to a beach somewhere and no TV, just think. Just take time. Now again, this was just like a 3 or 4 day thing, but it is so valuable in just resetting your thought process and who you are and what's important to you. And so, yeah, even if you can't take 3 weeks, gosh, that's fantastic if you can.
No kidding. I can't remember the last time I had 3 consecutive weeks off of like not working at all.
But I wonder though how much of it is truly still workplace imposed versus, right? Versus how much are you imposing on yourself? Like we work
we
for
could
each other.
we could probably make that happen,
could take
Trish.
off, yeah.
Maybe this August. Maybe H3HR goes on sabbatical for like the back half of August. Let's talk about that later.
Let's talk about that
All
later.
right, we need to get out of here and let our fine friends in the Paycom control room go home for the weekend.
I know.
We want to thank them for being such wonderful and gracious hosts. It's been a pleasure coming out here. Thanks for listening to H3 Live. Catch everything at hrhappyhour.net or on YouTube, HR Happy Hour Live.
That's right.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you.
Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.